Welcome to Overtime on Inferno, your weekly roundup of all the biggest news in CSGO, quicker than Oscar has found his way back to Sinners. If you can rate and review us in the episode, that would be fantastic. I am Logan. This is Aizyesque. Everything is normal again. Let's get into it.
Well, normal is a stretch.
Yeah.
Nothing is normal.
This is a really weird week because nothing happened in the last week, but also a metric shit ton happened in the last week.
Yeah.
It's just we had no tournaments. There wasn't really transfers. But it was just
we did have a tournament. It's just I couldn't find it within myself to care about Elisa Espoo. It's called Espoo. There's no way I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna talk about it at all. I didn't watch any of it. I don't think you watched basically any of it.
I was working.
Dead teams. That's all I state for that.
I mean, Fnatic winning is somewhat interesting. Like that's got to be a good sign. And Mezzi just absolutely popping the fuck off in the final.
They're not a dead team, but
it really makes you wonder even more about why Mezzi is the in-game leader of this team. But
whatever.
We covered that on the Major episode.
Yeah, so quick rundown for how today's going to work. It's going to be Major rundown, because I want to do a debrief of the Rio Major of not the games.
That was years ago at this point.
Yeah, it feels like it was a decade ago. The random shit that happened in the last week, and then we'll talk a little bit about Blast. Let's start with a rundown. The reason I want to talk about the Rio Major is because it was someplace we had never had it before in a totally new market for Counter-Strike, right? Previously, majors have been in Europe, where we've had a bunch there already. So while Belgium is a different market than Denmark or Sweden, we're still in roughly the same kind of market.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I went to the Stockholm Major and I also went to the Antwerp Major because they're in Europe.
Yeah. Your clientele is roughly the same on your European majors, right? Your American majors, we've done them a bunch of times. Like North American, right? We had Boston, we had Atlanta. And we host big tournaments here constantly. Not constantly, but pre-COVID, we had ESL New York, we had IEM Chicago, we've had IEM Dallas. The West Coast gets fucked. But we've had big tournaments here, so your clientele is kind of a known quantity here as well. There's two major places that we generally have played Counter-Strike that aren't known quantities, right? And that's Asia with Perfect World, and I think the biggest tournament we've had was there was IEM Shanghai or something there.
Or yes,
there was Cup here 3 years ago.
I remember waking up very early in the morning to watch North play at IEM Shanghai at 8 in the morning. One of the worst decisions I've ever made. I think North won, but it was not worth it.
Yeah, so Asia, and I'm not counting Australia in this because we've been doing IEM Melbourne, Sydney and stuff for a while, and that is also a known entity, right?
I also kind of think there will be an Australian major in the next year or two.
I hope so.
I don't hope so. I've just got a feeling.
I'd go to Australia. I have no problems going to Australia for a major. Fuck it. That's not my point. My point is we have had one, maybe two tournaments ever in South America. It was
Belo
Horizonte, and I think there was a Sao Paulo Blast event.
Yes, there was, yeah.
Okay. So we've had two tournaments in Brazil, pre-COVID, pre-Furia being Furia, right? Mm-hmm. At the point in which MIBR was kind of shit and there was no real replacement. So we got a tournament in a country that we realistically haven't been to, right? Belo Horizonte wasn't a huge event at the time. The Blast event definitely was not a huge event at the time. We had this.
Yeah, it was decently sized.
It was decently sized, but I don't remember who was there, but I can't imagine it was a major sized event. I mean, nothing is a major sized event other than Cato and Cologne and the major. Like that, just based on data, nothing's that big. So we had our first huge big event come to South America. And I think in some parts it really succeeded, and I think in other parts it failed.
Yeah, I do think the Brazilian fans don't care about non-Brazilian games thing was a little bit overblown. I mean, okay, yeah, they were quiet for like it didn't sound like a major final, but it was also
Yeah.
Outsiders versus Heroic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that would have popped off in the US either. I'm not sure that would have
No.
popped off in Europe either. Like, it still would have been relatively muted because
Who the
A,
fuck
it's Outsiders
cares?
versus Heroic, and B, Outsiders just waltzed it. Like,
and even if
it wasn't a particularly good game, they just smashed them.
I think even if it was a close final, those teams don't have huge fan bases in Europe and CIS as it is. Or
Yeah.
I guess Outsiders has some VP fans.
Even
but
then,
but like
not really.
The teams are not your huge market share teams. It's not your Phases, your Navis, your Fanatics, your Liquids, Cloud9s, right? It's not your like big market share teams. Those are, in esports terms, small teams.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Those two in a final in a country that is very, I'm going to use the word patriotic, and I'm not sure it's the right word, but we'll go with patriotic.
I think patriotic's fair. I think there's quite a lot of.
They're very country focused when it comes to sports and things that have a country bit in them, right? World Cup's going on, right? Brazil in the World Cup, it's a known quantity. And so when a team that isn't Brazil, or in this case Furia, is playing, I understand everything goes down a little bit.
But the thing is, you have to weigh up, like, is the atmosphere for that Furia Navi game worth the atmosphere for the other semi-final? And I kind of edge towards but a lot of people were pretty sad to see like the other semi-final and the final be very quiet and be a bit empty. I think the fan fest was, I think that didn't go.
Let's hold off on the fan fest for a minute because that's going to involve a deeper dive on its own.
Yeah, but I think it's intertwined with why it was kind of disappointing in terms of atmosphere is because of that decision. Because I do think otherwise it might have been a much better atmosphere for the other semi-final. But like, if you're a Brazilian fan, of course you want to hang out with all the other Brazilian fans and Goles and whoever else. Like, I know. I don't know if you read Richard Lewis's piece on Goles.
No, but I had some of the general ideas. I skimmed it really quickly, and I had some of the same general feelings ahead of time. And he went a lot further with those feelings than I felt. But
I'd agree with that. Like,
for those of you who didn't read it, the TLDR is that this wasn't the Brazil major; it was the Gauls major, and that it kind of it embodied what he was and what he stood for, and it kind of got in the way of it being a good Counter-Strike product because it was Gauls.
Yeah, which I don't entirely disagree with, but I definitely don't feel as strongly about it as Richard.
Yeah, that's his opinion on this. I think both of us are leaning in that direction a little bit, but definitely don't go as far in that way.
As with a lot of things Richard Lewis says, actually, I agree generally, but I do find sometimes he's
a little.
I think he goes a bit further than I would. But I don't disagree with the point. And I should probably be relatively careful with what I say because I do work for ESL. And I think I should say that out loud and be like, look, that I am going to be biased towards the product. I am going to be biased towards things like that. But also, I think ESL would admit that the fan fest going on at the same time wasn't a great idea. Maybe they have some regrets about how Goles ran it. But also, they ran like an 11-day event with a crowd for every day. Like, okay, yes, for the playoffs, they weren't that loud. But I remember, like, people have very short memories, and they were talking about, like, holy shit, the noise during the group stages. The noise during the play-in stage was insane, like, nothing they'd ever experienced. Like, there was a few, like, sour moments, in a way, in the playoffs and stuff like that, but there was also, like, it was also a great atmosphere for, like, 90% of it. Certainly that's what it felt like from home. That's the vibe I got from people who are in Brazil. I don't know. I think the product was slightly damaged by some of those decisions, but I also think in the main it fucking rocked.
Yeah. Before we continue, I think we should give the larger TLDR bias at ESL. You work at ESL. We have a couple of other people who have done work or do work at ESL.
Yeah.
Elliot directly biased a little bit. I do not do work at ESL, but again, I know people at TLDR, and we all. So
yeah,
that's our general bias statement out of the way, because we don't.
That is important. That
this isn't a thing
on the table.
This isn't a thing we normally do, right? We don't normally do like post-event planning stuff, but I feel it's important for this event because it was so different than every other event, right?
And it was under the microscope a lot. We say Richard Lewis wrote about it. Thorin went fucking shit up about it, like, you know, like it and yeah, I think it is important. And look, in a month's time, Blast are going to Abu Dhabi to do an event, and we'll probably have the same there'll be people complaining about that, and it's like, but
all right,
I do find it very strange. Like, I don't care.
I want to pivot to the to the other big event innovation, we'll call it, which was the FanFest. Right?
Yeah.
Shut up, ESPN. I don't know if you heard that, but ESPN just did a notification.
I did hear it, yes.
Podcasting for 2 years, and I haven't learned to mute my phone during the podcast.
Shocking. Mine's on my table, though, so if it vibrates, you'll probably hear that as well.
I have 2 phones on my table right now. My work and mine both vibrate.
We're so unprofessional.
Okay, so I want to go to the other bit. I want to go to the FanFest, because this, I think, is the bigger topic that I want, because it wasn't just... I have 2 main points about this. One, the FanFest was an outdoor activity outside the stadium. That could you get tickets only to the FanFest?
I think so, but I'm not certain.
Let's pretend that you could, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
If you,
I know that they did a lot of advertising for it because it didn't sell out that well at first, and then it eventually they bumped the numbers up.
So let's assume then
so I assume that you
buy
didn't have
FanFest
to be
tickets, right?
Yeah.
So they had the FanFest run simultaneously to the in-arena finals, semifinals, quarterfinals, right? The big arena, the one that everyone complained that there weren't enough seats at because it's an indoor arena and there's not many of those in Brazil because everything in Brazil is soccer, football, and no one does indoors for that. Everything's outdoors. So everyone bitched and moaned, and then they added more stuff before, which, let's be real, good on ESL to add the ton of seating ahead of time, right? With the
I'm sure that was purely because of complaints. Definitely nothing. There would have been no other motivation to sell tickets.
I'm sure that they wanted to sell tickets as well.
Yeah,
like that was definitely a monetary move, but I'd have to believe it was spurred on by everyone going, oh shit, wait, there's only 5,000 tickets available for finals, or 10,000 or whatever it is, right? There's so many other people who we can take money from.
Yeah.
And I think it made a better experience. But the FanFest was run at the same time. And from what I saw via Ryan from Dust2, via Jack, who's our graphic designer here who works at ESL, via just Twitter, right? They were doing stuff in the FanFest at the same time as the games were going on. Right? Now, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird because you think that they would kind of shut down the FanFest stuff while the games were going on.
Well, I think the idea was that they could watch the games at the FanFest. Like, it was like they had a big screen and they could watch it together with people. But they also had signing sessions there at the same time games are going on, which...
Yeah, they had signing sessions. Vitality had their, play Counter-Strike with Guitar Hero controllers and shit going on with their whole metality thing. I'm fairly sure Liquid had OC there during finals games and stuff. And to me, it became a distraction away from Counter-Strike. Now, if you're going and you bought a FanFest ticket only and your whole vibe was, I don't super care about the finals. I want to go and have a good time in this area, and there's Furia here, and all of the favorite teams are here. that's fine. That's good on you. But it felt like the people that bought these arena tickets that were ready to be in the arena kind of got sucked outside to this whole fan experience thing.
Yep.
It to me felt like that this. I've been doing a lot of League of Legends terminology recently, but we're doing it for a second. LCS has their tailgate ahead of events, and football has this too. I'm assuming soccer does as well. Where like before an event, you have like a tailgate. You make burgers. You have like a barbecue in the parking lot of the arena.
Well, they have like burger vans and stuff, but
no. So in America, this is a very American thing, I guess.
Yeah.
We have these things called tailgates, right? Where you arrive to the stadium early. Let's say I'm going to a football game, American football game, right? You arrive to the stadium early. You get into your parking spot. Behind your parking spot, you pull out like a charcoal grill. You start making burgers. You play football in the parking lot. You're playing cornhole. It's a very American thing to
do. Yeah, this is the most American thing I've ever heard.
It's called tailgate because the way you do it is you open the tailgate in your pickup truck and you do it through there. Or you open the tailgate on your car.
I love that in the word they use. Pickup trucks are so universal in America that the word they use is based on like the assumption that you have a pickup truck.
I mean, that's it could be on a regular car. I mean, it's the trunk, the tailgate. I don't know.
Yeah, the boot.
So you do have baseball games, football games, right? LCS has this thing ahead of like LCS days that's called the LCS tailgate, and they'll have teams there, and I think they have food to sell and stuff. But it's this outdoor event that's like instead of waiting online, you can go meet the people from the teams that are here. So like, if it was a day of games, right? Like obviously the Team Liquid people wouldn't be there, but like Lorelo, who's a streamer for them, could be out there or something like that, right? You'd have like people to meet. There may be merch. There's food. There's kind of related stuff to do, and then they push you into the arena. And it feels like this could have been a really, really good like pre-event kind of thing, and then we pushed people into the arena that had arena tickets. Yeah. And then we kind of left the people outside that didn't have arena tickets that were going to watch the game together on the big screen. And maybe like you let the people back out during in between games. But it felt like that externally, right? Obviously, neither of us were in Brazil. It felt externally like there was no push to go into the arena and watch the game indoors and with the whole arena experience. It felt like everyone just kind of got sucked into this pre-game kind of thing and let it through the entirety of the events, other than the Furia games.
I do think it's very difficult to push people inside if, like, maybe some of their friends only have FanFest tickets. Like, you obviously just want to stay outside. And the more people that just stay outside with their friends, the more people are like, well, why would I go in the arena when the atmosphere out here is so good? And I think it's kind of it was a much better experience, I think, for people on site than it was for people at home.
Yeah,
in a way, and it's certainly in those games, which maybe that's by design. Maybe that's a good thing.
To me, that's fine because on the other hand, right, there's ESL. We're getting into very esports weird shit now, which is like ESL is selling us a product with advertisers, and their goal is to give us that. And does the fact of them doing something in the arena where there's less fans, does that mean that I'm going to watch the product less? No. It's just something that I'm going to say, that's kind of weird, and I'm going to comment on in a podcast 3 weeks later. Like, it's
that very much is the point of this podcast, to be fair.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to comment on this 3 weeks later because this is kind of weird, but it's not like oh, there's only 7,000 fans, not 10,000 fans. I can't watch the stream anymore. I'm turning it off. It's just kind of weird.
It was odd. But then I spent a lot of time obviously watching the B stream. I was working the B stream, and there was not much noise for the B stream games either. And I don't think that it was very odd when you could watch the A stream and there was loads of noise. Yeah, and then you go to the B stream and it's like you can tell when Fury have won around on the A stream, but there was not as much noise on the B stream, and that was kind of strange. But like, I get it. Like,
I think that's any major. That's any event that's got that backstage stuff.
Yeah, like most majors don't even have a crowd for the A stream, so
I feel like this major was innovative and also weird because it was innovative, right? Because we had the crowds for every stage, right? That made B Stream feel a little bit weird because we don't have the crowds for B Stream, right? When we had A and B both in studio, then there was no crowds and stuff. Then it was kind of normal, right? And it was just very, there was no crowds, but your viewing experience across the board was kind of the same. But this once you put one into an arena and like certain games into arena and certain games backstage, it was like, oh, okay, now it kind of feels like there is an A stream, right? That's like getting this like big production value, and a B stream which is having like a shittier production value. No offense to you and your production, because, but it felt like
they had the better ticker guy. That's all I know.
But that's what it kind of feels like. It's like when you're in arena and stuff, and you've got stage games, and that kind of, it's a little bit different. And I think that this event had a bunch of innovations that probably will stay with us. I think FanFest is actually probably going to stick.
I think
depending on the location.
For next year's IEM Rio, I think they'll probably do something similar. I don't think they would in like IEM Katowice.
I don't think they will in Paris. Like, I mean, it's Blast still, but like, I don't think
they will for Kato. I don't think they will for Cologne. I think
the next time they come to America, they'll fucking do it. Like,
yeah, but it's a very American concept, and like for Brazil, like it made sense, but I don't think it makes sense at every.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense at every event, but I think it was a good starter innovation that maybe we can start doing this other places. I think it would be a great thing in Melbourne.
It does need refining, obviously.
I think it would be cool in Australia. Right?
Maybe. I don't think Australians are as bothered by Australian teams.
Yeah.
And I think a large part of the reason that it works in Brazil is Brazilians really give a shit about Brazilian but like they all just wanted to meet Fallen. Like they all wanted to like meet Elige because he speaks Portuguese, right? They all wanted to like be with, they all care about their own teams, whereas Australians is like they just like watching Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
I don't think that the fan fest as such. I think they might find that a little.
I think the
too
fan
American.
fest. Well, actually, I think the way the fan fest needs to move is not total fan fest, right? Of like, all the teams are here and stuff. I think it's more of like overflow seating, giant kind of like experience thing, right? The Toronto Raptors have this giant screen on the outside of their arena, and they make what's called Jurassic Park, which is just a giant outdoor area where it's like standing room only, and you go and watch the games with everyone who didn't go inside, right? And this is Toronto, so it's like -3 degrees, but that kind of thing is not super uncommon in sports, especially with major events. Like when the NBA finals were going on, no one could get into where the Raptors play. Everyone was in Jurassic Park. Yeah. And they had like viewing parties in Jurassic Park too. I think that esports
they do have like fan parks, especially for international football, but also for like Champions League. So, for example, they have like England fan parks where people will watch England games at the World Cup who aren't in Qatar for whatever reason.
Not the point.
So that concept does exist, but I don't think. Certainly in Australia, I don't think the demand is high enough that people will stand outside and watch.
Australian fans, to me, yell the "We love Counter-Strike, not Australian teams" bit.
Yeah. And
there's but also a quantity issue there.
I don't think there's that many. I think pretty much all of the Australian fans go to the Australian events, and that's why it's great because everyone there gives a shit. But I don't think. Like, one of the reasons Australia isn't great at Counter-Strike is that their player base isn't that big, and I think it's like if you had an event in like England, the player base just isn't there. Like you'd get all 200 of us who give a shit, and that'd be about it.
We had an event in England. It went okay.
It was kind of a shit major, but we also used to have ECS, which was fine. But yeah, I don't know. English major kind of. England's just not a good place for esports. Like, unfortunately,
I can't say America's much better. So,
I feel like the Boston major was just a good event. Like, I don't know. There's something about England that just doesn't suit like the esports vibe. I don't know. Also, I like traveling, so I'd prefer if it was outside of England, but it's still in Europe, ideally, or Tokyo. Please give me a major in Tokyo, please. That's. I think I've brought this up like 3 times now, but like I'm gonna try and manifest it into existence.
No, if they
Tokyo major, that'd be amazing.
If they could give us a major in like Tokyo or like Taiwan or like Hong Kong or something.
That one's probably a little bit more.
I mean, Perfect World may actually do a major over there. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if you're Perfect World and you need an Asian country to do the major in, like, your choices are somewhat limited. I mean,
Japan and
South Korea can definitely host like esports events. Like, we know this.
Yes,
they they do
just
worlds.
MSI. They did Worlds a couple of years ago,
and we know China can, but China's
complicated for geopolitical reasons.
Complicated for geopolitical reasons. It's probably complicated to get into. I've not looked into going to China for whatever reason. Whereas like Japan is a little bit more friendly to Westerners.
Yeah.
Which is undoubtedly a large part of your audience. South Korea would also be pretty cool, but like I think Japan would be pretty cool. This is completely off topic.
Oh yeah, no, this is super off topic.
I just really want to go to either Japan or Korea, but that'd be super fun. I'd love to have Counter-Strike.
If we could go because of Counter-Strike, that'd be even better. All right, let's move on to the next bit of today's podcast.
Yeah, we are 25 minutes in.
So Lord Gaben at Volvo decided just to randomly drop an update. Yeah. I have 3 topics about this. One, we're going to talk about the A1S. 2, we're going to talk about Anubis. But the number 3, which is going to go number 1, I want to talk about the CSGO update schedule. This is twice now that after the second major in the year, they've dropped a new map.
Yeah, which I like.
If they're going to keep doing this, they should. I like this. This is good. This means that our pools are not stale, and they're dropping shit maps.
Yeah.
Not that Train was shit last year, but
it seems to be the map that's played the least at majors.
Yeah.
I think that's the way they're doing it.
It's not that Train was a terrible map. I actually think Train was a good map, but it was in the pool. I love Train,
but it definitely has issues on the B site that I would like to see fixed.
Train had so many issues, but it like not Anubis. Ancient, obviously, has been a good addition to the map.
I think so, yeah.
I think
by and large, Ancient has been fun in pro play. Like, there's been so many good games on Ancient. Like, say what you want about it being too CT-sided, I do think now with the A1S being weak, I do think that will change. But, like, I quite like when games are like when the maps are CT sided. I think it creates quite an interesting dynamic personally.
You get way more comebacks. Like think about Liquid against NAVI, the best of 1, where Liquid came back completely on the CT side in order to actually beat NAVI. Like that was a banger game because there was built-in tension because of the map.
And I like it when teams have to work really hard for their T side rounds. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I want Counter-Strike to continue to do this, right? Let me rephrase this. I love the bi-weekly update shit that we get from Valorant to a degree on like little tuning, but way too much. That's so out of Valve's
I'd be happy.
Like normal wheelhouse. If they're doing this one big update a year on we're going to reinvent how the next year of competitive works with like 3 little number changes and a map change. That's huge. That's so much better than what we used to get. Like,
I would prefer biannually.
Yeah, I'd prefer after every
major. After each major, take out the worst map. I don't necessarily agree with the least picked map, because then you'll just never take out Mirage Inferno in the pass. And I mean, personally, I'd take out Inferno.
Mirage Inferno needs to come out.
Podcast,
but that's. Hey,
no, I think Mirage is just a really good, like, stable part of the map pool. Like, it's always, no matter what, it's always like the 4th or 5th best map in the pool. Every game on Mirage at the major pretty much every game was really good, really close, very interesting, dramatic, and it does show off individual skill.
Just to note, obviously we found out that if the map gets removed from a pool, you don't need to rename your publication because dust2.us still exists. So Overtime on Inferno will continue to be
change it.
Overtime on Inferno may continue
I do think after the Blast Major in the player break, it would be cool if they took out take out any map that isn't Nuke, and I think it's fine.
No, Nuke, Ancient, or Anubis. Don't take any of those three out.
Jury's out on Anubis.
Well, I'm assuming Anubis gets better.
I've played it twice, I think.
I'm assuming Anubis gets better in the next little bit. I have Anubis thoughts. We'll talk about Anubis in a minute. But I don't want them to redo the two maps that have just gone in, and Nuke, which on its own is its own type of map because of the technical ability you need to play Nuke.
I used to think Overpass was the best map, like by quite some distance, but I'm like certain now that current Nuke is the best map Counter-Strike, certainly CSGO, has ever seen. I really do think that the level of depth you can go into on the T side, the amount of options you have on both sides of the map, the way that the AWP can simultaneously seem like the best gun, like
the best gun and the worst gun,
and completely useless on the CT side, depending on who's using it, how you rotate it, and how the T side react to it, is like
it can even
unlike
be
any other map.
Round to round basis based on like if you're sitting outside with an op, one round you could be the fucking hero, and the next round you're dead at the beginning of the round, right? Like it's so weird. It's the only map that does that, and I love it.
And I also think whoever the best team at Nuke is usually also just the best team in the world.
I'd say not right now, but I'd agree.
Well, okay, but for the past year, it was like FaZe had like a 90% win rate on it. NAVI didn't lose it for ages, and I think that just shows that like it's a map that displays genuinely great teams better than any other map does.
I agree.
I think if you are a genuinely great team, you will be genuinely great at Nuke, and I think that isn't true of any other map.
So, I don't want maps to be replaced twice a year. In my opinion, that's a little much. I think once a year is fine. But if they could do a twice a year update on gun tuning, on like the rest of the update that they did, right, where they changed how the A1S functions, right, with the range, if they could do that twice a year after majors, I'm down. I'm in. I can agree to that. Because that
think the 5.7 has gone suspiciously untouched.
That makes each major cycle, right? Each set of major to major bits, right? It makes each one different. Even if the map pool stays the same, it means that you may have a different meta in the first half than you have in the second half of the year, which I think is cool. Let's talk about the A1S. It's been nerfed, so the range
it's dead.
The range modifier went from like what 0.99 to 0.94 or something like that, and everyone went, "Oh, that's such a small change." And then it like takes 6 bullets to kill at some ranges.
Yeah, and you see like the angles where it's become a 5-hit kill instead of a 4, and you're like, "Oh, that matters." It's like top stairs to ramp, like pit to like a boiler, but like cave entrance to like halfway, like to the other end, like the length of cave is now a 5-hit kill instead of a 4. That's fucking massive. Like it completely changes so many positions where you'd rather now have an A4, but the A4 is weaker than the previous A1S. So CT sides are not going to like. I think Ancient is now a 9.6 map instead of an 11.4 map. I think Overpass is now a 9.6 map instead of an 11.4 map. I think it's a huge shift towards the T side.
I think
some people will think that's a good thing. I quite like when CT sides are dominant. I think that's kind of interesting. But
I think that this is the best fucking time for Valve to go and change the radial buy menu to include more weapons and let you choose the A1S and the A4 depending on your position. I think there are still definitely positions where the A1S is just better. I think
but the problem is that even if it's better in the position you play, let's say you're a B site anchor on Mirage. You're like, most of my fights are up close. I have an A1S. You spend a lot of time retaking.
No, I
spend
understand.
a lot of time moving,
But
and I don't.
I would like the ability to buy either. That's
I agree.
I think now is the time in which you want to say, okay, we made these weapons roughly even, which is a lie. The A4, I think, right now is just better than the A1S.
It is just better, yeah.
But the A1S is also $200 cheaper, and you can go buy a flash with the A1S. Let me buy both, because maybe I am the beholder on Mirage, and maybe that flash is way more important to me than the range one extra shot, right? Like,
and also if you have a teammate who prefers the A1S, you can drop them in an A1S.
Yeah.
If they don't have it on, like that it's just kind of a small thing, but
that would change.
It doesn't mean you can specialize a little bit more. Yeah,
that would change everything, and I don't mean like in a game breaking way. That would just mean it's a quality of life change.
I do think nearly everyone would just stick with the A4 purely because I think versatility is king.
I don't disagree, but I can think of your ancient cave player, your the temple player, your donut player, whatever you want to call that area, because I don't play ancient that much. Your donut player, right?
Temple are very different places.
I know. Yeah. It's donut. I meant donut. Your donut player, that A4, the A1S, just maybe a straight better play on ancient because your retakes.
Yeah, but you fight mid a lot.
But my point is that
you'd use the
A4. They went from 2 tools for the same job to 2 tools for 2 different jobs. And now I have to pick my tool before I get into a match.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going in with the right tool. Right? It's the whole thing of like, if I bring a screwdriver and then need to nail something into the wall, yeah, I can do that. I can use the back of the screwdriver to hit it. But like, is that the best way I can do it? Fuck no. I could have brought a hammer.
I also would like to buy the revolver sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please let me buy the revolver and the deagle at the same time. Like,
yeah, at the same time. Now we're talking. One in each hand.
Okay, that's not what I was saying.
It's like playing Call of Duty. The Kimbo Magnums. No, I want one in each hand. Fuck it. I want to be like hip firing the revolver while I'm like spraying a deagle.
Alright.
If somebody you play a close angle, somebody walks out the corner, you fire both at the same time, immediately dead. Blow them back.
Yeah, but your fire rate's like 0 because you got to cock both of them, so you get one.
No, because you would only have like the right click mode on the.
Yeah. No. So you get one, and then you gotta like.
No, because if you can spam it with the revolver on the right.
Well, no, but don't you? When you right click, don't you flick fan it back? I don't remember. Okay, I
can't remember. Yeah,
not maybe. The point. Let us buy both the deagle or the revolver, depending on what round it is. I want to meme sometimes.
The revolver would actually be kind of interesting if it wasn't in the deagle swap, because it is like a cheaper, clunkier scout. The damage it does at long range with a body shot is insane. It does like 70 damage with a body shot. It's insane. It's basically a scout, but
I've stated this before. The revolver, if you're like silver, better buy than the deagle.
But just learn to use a deagle.
Yeah, learn to use a deagle, but like maybe a better buy. Okay, let's talk about the next bit of this update, which was Anubis. I've played Anubis in semi-competitive matches. So I participated this last weekend at Mustache Masters with Drew, who's one of our graphic designers. Played against some of our other TLDR compadres, as well as M&M's and Selenica, who I guess is technically one of them. And Phi.
He's alumni, yeah.
Phi and NA Caster, right? I played against a bunch of them. I played with a bunch of NA people, including Cerner, who works with X13 and LCA. We had a great time. Point is update drops night before brackets come out for Mustache Masters. They say, "Fuck it, we're using Anubis because why not?" Hitboxes on the map, terrible. Let's start there. To get into B site, the corners you can't throw a nade at the corner. You have to go real wide. Really bad.
I've heard there's some serious clipping issues.
They need to fix it, like, immediately. Bullets go through, but nades don't. It's really, really bad. Other than that, the map is T-sided because mid is really hard to hold from a CT. It takes...
I am skeptical that the map is actually T-sided.
That's probably true. I'm giving the thoughts of the two games of Anubis we played.
Like it always takes a little while, and then it goes like the other way, and it's too CT sided, and then people counter that, and you get what the map actually is. That's what we're having with Ancient at the moment.
Oh, it's absolutely going to happen. But for right now, thoughts of, because people are going to play Anubis in 3 weeks. Like we didn't touch on this, but Blast finals, like the final, they're playing Anubis.
Well, they might all ban it, but yes,
they may all ban it. But like Anubis is in the map pool, someone's going to pull it out just because they're going to go, fuck it. This is a pick that no one's playing. Well, let's do it. This happened. Same thing happened last year with Ancient. Sticko's team pulled it out. I think Sticko was playing for FPX at the time, and they pulled out Ancient, and no one knew what the hell to do on it. So someone's going to do it this year.
Yeah, that was one of the games where Madden dropped like 46 kills in regulation. Yeah. It dropped like an obscene amount of kills.
But they didn't have any clue how to do it. So someone's going to play it at Blast. So maybe you'll have an idea of what's going on. Mid, you can take really quickly as a T, and there's not a huge amount of Molotov ability to stop Ts from taking it. At least that we've found. There's smokes that you can put down, but they land a little too late because there's this giant building in front of CT spawn, and it becomes very difficult. B is not impossible to take. You can do a lot of B splits. Mid, you can jump down the walkway thing across and run into the connector on B, and you can take it with B main and that connector. That's super doable. There's a lot of nades out already, and we playing on the map for like 20 minutes ahead of our games. We found a bunch of easy nades.
Yeah, I believe if you want some quick nade lineups, Mytha, the ex North
already has stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a Nart video. Mytha's been tweeting a bunch of stuff as well, like mid spawns, like mid smokes from spawn, like whichever spawn you have. Like, it's proper nerdy shit already.
Yeah. Oh, and there's going to be that. So the big things that I saw is like mid is really if you're a T, it's kind of integral to your stuff. A feels really, really bad right now. There's one way to take it. You're going through A main. If you can get mid control, it is super deep into mid to be able to split onto A. And if you're splitting onto A, you've basically cleared the site.
I haven't played the map in a while. A's the one.
It's the
where you come in
one.
and then there's that lower path on the right hand side.
There's
no, I'm thinking of B.
A's the one with the pit, and there's like a little.
Okay, it's like a coliseum.
Yes.
I love that site. That's one of the coolest sites on the game.
It's a really good site, but the way you take it is through A main, which is a really shitty chokehold, or you can take it through mid, but you have to get so much mid presence in order to do anything. You can't.
Yeah, it'll be one of those. It'd be one of those like Mirage B splits where you do it when you have lots of control. Yeah,
you have to have so much control for it. B, you need less control. You can definitely take B with less control, but overall, we had a great time playing it. I think I hate Dust 2. I don't think it's...
Dust 2 fucking sucks. Like
Dust 2 sucks.
It actually doesn't matter if Anubis is good or not, because it's already better than Dust 2. Like, I'm sick and tired of every single... We have seen every single thing you can possibly do on Dust 2. We'd seen that before they put it back in the map pool. It should never have come back in the map pool. Yeah. It got taken out because it was shit. They remade it by like making it a little bit brighter and then just put it back in, flipped the doors and stopped you dying on the cross. It's like, oh yeah, now the map's fixed. The map is just dog shit. Like it sounds really dumb to say something's outdated because that suggests that Counter-Strike wasn't as good back then as it was now. But I think teams have figured out so much of like things you can do on every other map, and then they get to Dust 2 and everyone has the same execute and the same game plan every game because the map is so limited.
The biggest innovation to Dust 2 strategy in the last like 2.5 years is Zywoo being able to throw the hinge smoke from back spawn. That's it. That's all the innovation we've had. The hinge
which is a smoke people already used.
Yeah,
it's just
a new
from slightly less safe.
Yeah, it's a new place to throw from. That's it. That's all it was.
Yeah.
That's all.
The map sucks.
But Anubis, to me, doesn't feel like a pug map, which is a good thing in my opinion, because we have a new pug map in Ancient.
Ooh, I don't think Ancient's a pug map either.
I think at the beginning, Ancient was a very puggy map, and I think that it will begin to replace Dust 2, the way Dust 2 was picked as like the fucking I'm gonna go aim duel map.
No.
You don't think
Those
so?
are Mirage and Inferno. I don't think there is a third Pug map now. I think if there was going to be, it would be Overpass.
Okay. All right.
Because I think Overpass you actually can outshoot. Like you can just run on B 15 rounds in a row.
I am also in shit low, so me playing.
Yeah. Overpass you can kind of pug it out to a certain level. Like you can just rush B like 10 rounds in a row. And like if your flashes are on point, you kind of just win. Like whereas I think Ancient you can't just run. Like you have to be meticulous because if you try and run anywhere, you just die. You just run into 2 Molotovs and die.
Yeah, the problem is people don't throw Molotovs on my elo, so 50-50. All right.
Yeah, I don't throw Molotovs in my elo.
TLDR, A1S change / meta change. Good. Anubis change. Good. Updates.
I agree.
Good.
The AWP being nerfed, I don't think makes any difference.
Yeah, I forgot about the AWP.
Directionally fine.
Directionally
fine, probably not enough.
The AWP nerf has affected me a grand total of once, and it was when I was spamming a no-scope spamming through a smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, it should have been nerfed for that anyway. So
yeah, okay. Like you can't spam as much now. Okay, well, no, that's a lie. You can spam as much. You just will have to reload.
Yeah, no, and that's that's a totally
fucking gun in the game.
That's a totally reasonable countermeasure, right? Like,
yeah,
5
I think
bullets
so.
is fine. I have no issue. I also
5.7 is so broken. If you do run out of bullets, just pull out a 5.7 and just start chopping heads off.
I'm a P250 guy, but understandable.
Depends on how much money I have, but yes.
Okay, we got 3 more things to talk about. We have I'm gonna say things around this name, and you're gonna say the name because I don't know how it's pronounced, and hopefully you do. NAVI is currently trialing a new player in the Blast series.
I think it's just Nipple.
I think it's just Nipple. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nipple is from the
If it isn't Nipple, I don't care. I'm going to call him Nipple.
So Nipple is getting used in the maps here for Blast. They're putting him in place of Sum Young for some stuff. There's been rumors flying around that Sum Young may get replaced. There's rumors that Electronics contract's up at the end of the year and that he may not move. There's rumors that Hobbit may come in. I don't know the truth to any of them, but
no, we're not privy to any of this information. I do kind of think. I don't think Sum Young will stay.
I don't think Sum Young will stay either.
I'm not convinced Electronic will either, but I don't know who they replace him with.
Navi has always been an iron hold of whatever they do. I don't generally. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been able to predict a Navi move before it happened. They kind of do shit their own way.
Like even though
most of the CIS moves I can't predict before they happen.
Yeah, you just like see an overdrive tweet and you're like, "Is this real?" And then it happens. And
it's like I'll look at EU teams and like I can make we can generally make like okay-ish predictions on what's gonna happen. CIS, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Dexter's just out of spirit. Okay, I guess he is.
That's the one move that we were able to call is the Wonderful to Spirit. That's it. That's the only thing we've been able to call.
But there was no way I was ever guessing that Mir or Dexter would leave Spirit. So you know.
So TLDR, Nipples on Navi for some of the maps in Blast. Their first match is going on. It just finished at time of recording. I'm curious to look at it very quickly on, did they use him in either of these maps? The answer may surprise you, but I think it's no.
I wonder if he's just like an Anubis god.
Oh, they're joining the game. Sorry, Prius just joined the game. That's important.
I wonder if he's just like an absolute monster at Anubis, and they're like, yeah, we need this guy.
Well, it's not Anubis in here.
Oh, of course it's not. Oh, in that case, why are we bothering?
It's a Mirage angle. They're loading into Mirage. Okay, they're loading into Mirage, but I think Sum Young's already in, so they're not using it for the first map at all, first game at all.
Okay. Unless maybe he's subbing in for somebody else on map 1. You gotta go full 6.
You know what? Maybe he's subbing in for Electronic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Stay tuned for more information because we have none. Oscar is back onto Sinners after his brief stint on the MSL-led Titans. He had
It was
words
a
to
full
say.
year, I think. I don't know if it was a brief stint. He was there for a year.
Was it really a year? That team did nothing for a year, so I don't fucking know.
Well, he in his interview, he was like, "Oh, what a wasted year for me."
Okay, so there's two bits about this that we found out from an Oscar interview. One, apparently Titans owes him and Sonny a metric shit ton of money.
Yeah,
like they owe Sonny like $100,000 or something like that. Like not like $20. And that Oscar hated MSL's calling because it was too old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what he expected.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, MSL kept calling like really like tactical, like structured stuff." So, do you not know him? I have never played under MSL. Shouldn't have to give that like disclaimer. But I could have told you what his calling was like. It was so fucking obvious. Like, he's famous for it. He's famous for like calling in a very structured way. Why did you join an MSL team? And they go, "Yeah, no, I'm sure he's going to play like loose and aggressive." It's like signing Searson and saying like, "Yeah, I'm sure he'll rifle on this team." I don't know what you expected.
All right. Blast Premier Fall Finals. They are going on. They started today.
Yeah.
I don't think we paid attention to any of the matches yet, so we'll do some predictions.
Yeah. Liquid are playing G2 in 5 minutes as we record this.
No, an hour and 5 minutes. 2 p.m. today.
Okay.
It's an hour.
Oh, okay. So it's been moved because the previous game went. Okay, that's fine. I hadn't refreshed the page.
I just pulled the page out. That's the only reason I know. All right. So opening round, Group A. Group A is FaZe, OG, Heroic, and NIP. If I told you that FaZe and Heroic won their first matches, you wouldn't be surprised at all because that's how it should have worked. So they did.
I'm never surprised by an NIP result, good or bad.
Yep.
It's impossible at this point. It's like NIP lost, yeah, obviously. NIP won, yeah, of course they did.
So
they lost 2-1 to Heroic, and it's like, yeah,
FaZe Heroic in the upper finals, OG and NIP in the lower finals. I believe top 3 get in. So FaZe and Heroic both into playoffs already. These are best of 3s, by the way. Thank the Lord. So winner of OG NIP will also make playoffs, judging by our current NIP sentiment calendar that says if we are feeling good about them, they will do bad. If we are feeling bad about them, they will do good. They will do great.
I'm feeling very mediocre about them. I don't know what. Like,
I think that just means mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's more on your feelings on OG. I trust Flamesy more than I trust Brolin right now.
Look, if there's any team that's less reliable than NIP,
it may be OG.
It's probably OG. I have no idea what to expect from either of these teams. That could be a 2-0. That could be a 32-0 either way. And I just wouldn't have any clue.
Group B is NAVI versus Fluxo, which if Fluxo managed to 2-1 NAVI, then we'll have some problems. And then actually a banger match, which you all will have seen by the time this comes out, which is G2 and Liquid, which I actually think may be good. G2 coming off, starting there. I didn't go to the major. I'm going to now dog on everyone tour.
Revenge tour.
Yeah, the Revenge tour. And Liquid doing there. We went 2 and 3 in the major, and we're sad, so we're going to try and beat G2 tour. Should be a good game. Thoughts to get out of this group? It should be NAVI, Liquid, G2. Because the lower, it won't be Fluxo. Let's be real here. Top 3 make it out.
Oh, if it's 3 of the 4, then yeah, probably.
Yeah, so NAVI will win their game.
There is definitely a world where either G2 or Liquid lose to Fluxo.
That is definitely possible.
That will definitely exist. Fluxo are somewhat dangerous. Like they've got some good players.
It was 16-14 on Dust 2.
Yeah,
for NAVI.
They've got good players. Like Luke Halsey is very good. Phelps is always good. Like, VSM, like we know he can play. The problem they're going to have is against NAVI, it's Simple versus Woody.
I knew right where you go with that.
I cannot think of a bigger mismatch. It's like Shaquille O'Neal posting up on Muggsy Bogues. It's like it's game over. Like you won't even see Muggsy Bogues. You'll find him like in Shaquille O'Neal, like glued to Shaquille O'Neal's back, like 3 weeks later. That's just such a massive mismatch. And then, like, if they go down to lower bracket and they play against Monacy, like, what chance have you got? Like, their best hope really is Liquid, because OC's good, but he's not like a dominant AWPer, and like Woody's less like noticeable. And like when it comes to rifle firepower, Fluxes do actually have rifle firepower. They just don't have a competent AWPer.
All right. So predictions: Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win Blast Premier Fall Finals 2018 32-75?
Heroic.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Heroic. I don't know why. Just seems like something they do.
I mean, Heroic's on their. Everyone's on a little bit of a revenge tour here. FaZe is on their 0-3 revenge tour. Heroic's on their kind of just thing, like, lost a major final revenge tour. Like,
there's a lot of teams I just don't trust. Like, I don't trust NIP or OG. Like, I just don't see any of those making it.
If you're
FaZe was so unconvincing. Like they were so bad at the major. Like, okay, they smacked OG, but that really doesn't mean anything. I could see Heroic toppling them, and you can't trust NAVI because, well, they don't trust NAVI. They're like trying to change players for some of the maps, which doesn't strike you as a team full of confidence who knows exactly what they're doing. Liquid, I did trust, and they let me down, so I'm never doing that again. And G2 didn't even make the major, and notoriously inconsistent. Like, Heroic are the only like vaguely consistent team here. So they're the most reasonable choice.
Yep.
They're also major finalists.
Supposedly, yeah.
No, they definitely were. I saw it. I watched the game. They were in the final. Wow. Yeah, maybe you're right, actually. I'm not sure they were in the final.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that Outsiders won in a FFW.
Yeah.
All right.
So 3-0 forfeit win.
Yeah, that's gonna be it for this week in podcasting. We are still here next week. I think we are off sometime in December, so we'll start getting back to you folks with the new end of the season schedule. I think we got Blast Premier Fall Finals, and then I think there's one more event after that. Premier World Finals.
There's the World Finals for Blast.
Yeah,
I was saying earlier that the Blast convention for naming events is really confusing, because it was like, oh, it's no worse than ESL. I mean, yeah, but
no, it definitely is.
Like,
ESL says either ESL or IEM, and then it says the city, and then the year.
The year.
Yeah, Blast has.
That's what I thought.
Blast, then Premier, but sometimes not Premier. A season, maybe. What version of it is?
Everything's called a final.
Yeah, everything's a final.
When it isn't a final, because there's a world final, which is the actual final.
Yeah, but fall final, what other fall events were there?
Yeah. Well, there's Showdown, but I don't know what that is. Yeah. I think that's a qualifier for Blast.
Someone like Blast.
You can just name them so much easier.
Yeah.
Stop calling everything a final when it isn't.
Yeah, please.
Annoying.
Thank you, Blast. Yeah, apparently there was a fall groups. Apparently, but the fall groups happened in August.
Yeah, so why are the groups so far away from?
And there's Showdown. Oh, fall groups is the stupid thing with no winner. That has 4 first place winners, yeah, and then they have Showdown,
but
which
half
is
the teams go to Showdown and half of them go to the final, which isn't
Blast,
the final.
Fix your
qualifier to the actual final.
Blast, fix your shit.
To be fair, it's not that dissimilar to Challenger stage.
Oh, that's also
stage,
terrible. That's also
stage,
terrible.
Which I do hate. I do hate that. Just call it
play-in, groups, playoffs.
Yeah. Just call it what it is. Like, it's not that difficult.
All right, we're gonna get going. We are just shy of an hour on recording time for today, so we will see you all next week. We'll talk about the end of Blast finals,
Premier Fall Final 2022, not real final, the final edition. It's like, you know, when you're like writing an essay and then you get it, and then you're like, you notice something wrong.
It's every Photoshop document ever where you
write, that's what I mean. And you save it as like, this essay final, this essay final, this essay actual final, this essay final, actual final, real final, 100% final. And that's the one you send. That's what the Blast Premiere events are like.
Everyone that works at TLDR that listens to this podcast just immediately got triggered because we all deal in Photoshop or Premiere or that kind of stuff.
I don't. I'm a Luddite.
I know, but you do it in essays.
I use Google Docs and Google Sheets because I'm a Luddite.
Sure. All right, we will see you all next week.
Goodbye, everyone.